Action.
Welcome to Off Camera, the UC Film Society radio show all about movies. I'm Ollie,
I'm Jake.
No, Cam.
and we'll be your directors for this episode. This week, apart from our regularly scheduled programming, we will be discussing our rankings of the 11 Star Wars films.
Important episode.
This has been coming for a while.
Meaning to
and
do it.
We need to do it before the end of this season, so let's get,
It's going to be interesting and probably cause some debates, but that's fun,
probably.
in my opinion.
If you hear like old cartoony whoosh, whoosh in the background.
But we all collectively love the franchise, so it'll be fun to talk about.
Even our lowest rankings, we
Um,
enjoy.
Not for me.
Actually,
but yes.
Okay, I
No.
enjoy.
Yes.
But before that, we're going to jump into our recent watching, and then we'll do
Sure.
a pick your moment. So, Jake, what have you watched recently?
So I finished my Planet of the Apes rewatch with Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes. Dawn, I absolutely love. Oh my God, I forgot how good that movie was. I hadn't seen it since it came out, and I was pretty blown away by it. Definitely my favorite of the trilogy. War, I was disappointed on a rewatch because I remember loving it a lot more, but I still really like it. It's a really good conclusion. These films are just awesome. Andy Serkis as Caesar carries it all. I'm excited for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes now that I'm ready for it. Don't think it's going to be like some amazing film, but hey, you never know. You know, it'll be entertaining at the least. I watched The Talented Mr. Ripley. I've been wanting to watch this film for a while because of the cast. It's so stacked. Matt Damon, Gwyneth Paltrow, Cate Blanchett, Jude Law, Philip Seymour Hoffman, all at pretty young ages, pretty early in their careers. Definitely my favorite Matt Damon performance of all time. He was unbelievable in it. The story was so fascinating. It was just such a fun watch. I really loved it. And then I went to the theaters and I saw the new movie Challengers by Luca Guadagnino. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think he's Italian. He's made Call Me by Your Name, a few other films. It's got Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, Mike Feist. It absolutely blew me away. This is one of my new favorite films of the year. Definitely my favorite films to come out since Dune Part 2. I'm seeing it again this week. It's just so amazing on every level. The score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross was so good, and it lived up to my expectations. It's definitely my score of the year, even above Dune 2. It's just so awesome. I've been listening to it nonstop. The filmmaking was awesome. The performances were great. It's just a crazy sports movie. I couldn't recommend it enough, and you know, I just can't wait for more people to go see it. It's definitely been all over my feed on Instagram as people had gone out to watch it and loved it. It's a really interesting film to talk about. Just such an entertaining watch. It just made me so excited. Like the last 20 minutes are just so compelling, and the way it's done is so awesome. There's some of the coolest shots I've ever seen. And yeah, I just wasn't expecting this to be, such a big one for me. I was expecting to like it, but not be like flipping out about it. But yeah, I left the theater and I was like, wow, that was amazing.
because I think my sister and mum went and watched it, and they came home and they're like, yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
But they're not like, I don't know, not a movie connoisseur, but they don't have as much depth looks into films as we do. And it was, I don't know, it was interesting to hear what they thought of it. And now you've absolutely cemented that I need to see this film.
I think it's worth watching. I'm not sure if you guys would dig the story and the characters, but you never know. I think you guys can appreciate a lot about it. And yeah, that score, goddamn.
Awesome.
And then I
Well,
watched
good
Pitch
score.
Perfect. I had never seen it before. I obviously knew a lot about it, growing up in this generation. But it was a fun watch. I really liked all the musical numbers, and the cast is good. There's some parts that just don't work for me just because it's not my type of humor. There's a lot of like gross out humor that I
that's
just
true.
never find funny. That never really works for me.
Well, guess what? There's
What?
2 more movies, and it only goes down from here.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll check it out, but it was an entertaining watch. I wasn't really bored, and
Yeah.
it's a good time. But yeah, that's what I watch.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
I'll talk about what I watched because it'll just be really quick. I watched one movie, and that's because I started watching My Hero Academia, and then I got up to chronologically the point where the My Hero Academia first movie is, which is called Heroes Rising, and I watched it, and then I continued watching My Hero Academia.
How many episodes of the show is there?
Like, how many episodes are there?
Yeah.
I'd have to double check.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched around 50.
Yeah. Is it like One Piece where there's like just so many episodes?
No, there's 100 and something at the
Okay.
moment, so it's
Jeez.
reasonably long.
No, but that's doable.
But yeah, definitely
Yeah.
doable. And there's still more to come because I think there's like 400 chapters of the manga,
Yep.
which is very high up there. So, but yeah, no, I've been enjoying that.
Yes.
Well, let me just hang on.
I think there's 138,
Everything.
which was the number I had in my head, but that's what Wikipedia is telling me.
Wow.
I watched Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl again. I love this movie. I think it's one of my top 10 favorite of like ever. Just because of how simple the storytelling is, but the payoff from it is incredible, and the emotions that everybody feels from it. Everybody that I've ever watched this with has broken down in tears because of how good this movie is. And if you haven't seen it, get on it because oh my god, I love it. It's on Disney Plus. Yeah, definitely watch it.
I loved this book because I read it when it came out. I had to read it for school, I think. I never saw the movie, but I want to because I love the story and you're recommending it, so
Definitely.
yeah, I'll have to check it out.
I also watched Django Unchained.
Django.
Sorry, the D is silent.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Such an amazing movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't call him Django Fett.
Because there's no D in Django.
What? No, that's
Okay,
crazy.
All right.
It's said the same way.
No. I don't know why I didn't watch this sooner. Because oh my god, it's so good.
It's one of the only two Tarantino movies I've seen.
Is the other one Inglourious?
The other one is The Hateful Eight.
Oh, interesting.
This is better. So it's the best of the two I've seen.
It's definitely better than Hateful Eight.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. It is a little zany, but it is also Tarantino, who actually I was not expecting to be playing an Aussie.
His performance is so bad.
It's
so bad. It's so awful.
his accent though. Honestly, he kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
In the 90% of it, he nailed it, which is really hard to do, especially for someone who's not an actor.
He's watched a lot of cinema. He knows, but yeah, he's not.
He is very Aussie obsessed, to be fair.
Yeah.
The stand-up performance was definitely Christoph Waltz.
Amazing performance. Won an Oscar for it.
Good.
Yeah.
This is it's crazy that
I
he
love
can
Leo
go from
in this movie though.
like watching him in this compared to Inglourious Bastards is like
Yeah, it's crazy.
damn.
Two sides of the same coin.
He
Leo is the standout performance in this film to me because of just the villainous nature. But I love Christoph Waltz too.
Fun fact: he actually
Broke his hand.
cut his hand open.
Cut his hand. Yeah, I don't know why I said broke.
He completely cut his hand up when he smashed that
Just kept
glass,
going.
and that was his real blood that he wiped on the person's face.
God,
which
imagine
is a bit
being that actor.
feral.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a performance, and I'm really disappointed that Christoph Waltz died in the movie. Like I loved his character so much.
Yeah, it's a very sad scene.
Like I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really quite sad.
Mm.
Jamie Foxx was definitely really good.
Yeah, well cast. It's a good performance.
Yeah, it was really good, and the humor he also brings to it is really funny.
Yeah.
Really unique for this era in American history, which is pretty awful.
Yeah.
And somehow he makes light of it, and it's quite
Tarantino
funny.
does a great job of taking events. He does it in Inglourious Bastards. He does it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and bringing a spin to it that makes it entertaining to watch, but it's still you see the impact.
Still very informative.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, obviously, as I just said, a lot of Tarantino's films, but it seems to me from like the critical reception that this one has had and the fan reaction that this is the best like social commentary he's managed.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. The ones that because I've only seen The Hateful Eight and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well, I think.
Mhm.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a bit weird how it like twisted history,
Yeah.
which was it was interesting, but I don't think it was very genuine to the source material.
No. I mean, it's trying to be a fantasy. He's trying to make it seem like it's just what he wishes could have happened.
Yeah,
That's why. I mean, it's called Once Upon a Time. So I really like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, so is Inglorious to the nature. But yeah,
Kind
this
of,
Django
yeah.
is the best one of reflecting it and then making
Definitely.
a comment on it
Yeah.
because it's the most accurate. And then, but yeah, the other ones are kind of like more fantasy types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, actually, speaking of Django Unchained, we're gonna do a picky moment.
Let's do it.
I'm
Well-
gonna go last.
Okay.
Okay.
Jack's
enough.
gonna go first because let me just remember.
My scene is actually something you already mentioned. Is when Leo cuts his hand and he just keeps going. He goes off, knowing that that's improv. That wasn't meant to happen. Makes that scene so much
Mhm.
more intense, so much more raw, so real. It's really intense. Leo's amazing in it. Just he's screaming. Obviously, that gets memed as like acting. But he's really good in it, and all the facial reactions to it. And the tension's so high, and the way that it builds up to that scene. So yeah, that's got to be my moment.
Fair enough. I also didn't mention the cinematography. Oh my god, these close-ups with
Absolutely
what
gorgeous
lenses
one.
did they use? Because it looks so
Yeah,
good.
no, I'm not sure.
This was also shot on 35mm film,
Mm,
and well, it looks like it. But I
yeah.
really just love all the visuals about this film. There's a toss-up for me between two moments. One of the two very opposite. So one of them is the first one where Django shoots. What's his name? Is it Little Raj?
When he's wearing all blue,
Yeah, when he's wearing all blue.
I like the way you die, boy. That scene.
I think so. I think he blows someone's head off with a pistol, and then the blood goes all over the cotton, and that shot there. Yeah.
The-
Next one, Ollie. Yeah, that one.
That's such a great shot.
It's
the
such
colors
a
in
cool
this movie.
moment,
Yeah.
and it kind of, I don't know. It feels like a revenge payoff, but not really.
Mm. That's pretty early in the movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then actually the one after the cotton, Ollie. Yeah. So the scene where they're all complaining about
Oh, this is such
the
a funny
eye
scene.
holes in their white bags, in their masks.
Jonah Hill shows up.
Yeah,
He's
with
randomly in it.
surprise Jonah
Yeah.
Hill. Like, okay. That was also, I really like that. That was really funny about like they're about to do this awful thing because of, well, they're probably honestly KKK. I can see the
Oh, for sure.
That's definitely the intention.
that is what
Yeah.
yeah. But it's, I don't know, being able to make fun of something like that.
It's classic Tarantino. It's
Yeah.
putting humor in a dark.
It shouldn't work, but it
situation.
really does.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that. But I think I'm gonna have to go for the first one.
Yeah,
with the
that's an iconic
Blood
scene.
splatter on
Yeah.
the cotton, and then
Yeah.
that's crunch
Yeah.
popcorn.
This
Right,
is,
Ollie.
this is gonna sound a bit weird, but it's kind of a sequence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
From when he's captured, tortured, and like taken by Tarantino and
Yeah.
the others, to the point where he breaks free,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you really feel like it's like the start of the end,
Yeah.
and you really feel that ramping up into this insanity that's about to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in that sequence of events where the tension really rises. I mean, I know, like, that's the physical tension, and I think what this movie does well is it has really good physical action whilst also having really good mental and emotional tension, especially in the scenes with Leo and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that ramping up towards that physical tension as opposed to the mental tension is something that isn't talked about as much.
Yeah, that's.
And since you've already sort of covered that emotional tension,
Mm-hmm.
mental emotional tension with Leo's scene,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is sort of the next best thing in my opinion.
That's a great
Mm.
call. And yeah, the final shootout is just worth mentioning too.
It's pretty
The
good.
And I love the shot of him at the end when he
I
smiles
think
at.
I first saw this in primary school.
What?
just the shootout at the end. Like
That's
Someone
concerning.
showed you on
somebody
YouTube or
showed
something?
me. I was in like year 3 or something. They were like, "Hey, have a look at this cool movie that I found," and it was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay, I'm in year 3. I shouldn't be watching this." But
Yeah. No.
yeah, I saw after when I was watching it a couple of days ago, and I saw this, I was like, "Oh, that's where that was from." Cool.
You were like Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Pointing at the screen. I wish I could whistle so I could imitate that, but I can't.
Disappointing.
Yeah, but
I didn't know what that
those
was.
those are
sorry.
three good scenes. I think
Yeah.
3 good moments
a-
to pick.
It's a really entertaining film that
Yeah.
shouldn't be entertaining, like you said.
No, because of how dark it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, that we could do a deep dive on this, but we've already talked about it enough, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am definitely going to watch it again, though.
Nice.
Let's move on to
The moment we've all been waiting for.
the moment we've all been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. Star Wars rankings.
This is gonna be fun.
This is going to be a bit contentious. But
I think we should go around the room and go, "What's your number 11?"
Yes.
Yeah.
and work our way up.
Yes.
Yeah, don't just say it all at once. Make
Yes.
it. Yeah.
We gotta draw this out as long as possible.
So, Ollie, do you want to start with your number 11?
Yeah. Okay, so my number 11, I saw it in cinemas
Drum roll.
and I thought it was, at the time, after watching it, emotions running high, adrenaline running high. I was like, this is my favorite Star Wars movie. And then less than a week later, I was like, no, this is not it. Because so immediately after it came out, the reception to it just completely twisted. And like everyone was pointing out flaws and talking about all sorts of different things. And so my number 11 is The Rise of Skywalker. I actually haven't watched it since it came out, but I remember, I do have fond memories of it and I do enjoy it conceptually. There's a lot in it that I do like. Like if we just take it as a movie, not as the finale to the entire saga, it's fun. There's a lot of good action. There's a lot of cool cameo moments, fun set pieces as well. But just as the finale to the whole Skywalker saga, it's just not. I don't think they hit the right beats necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
So that's why it's last. But I do enjoy it and have fond memories of like the time around it coming out. It was the first movie I ever saw a midnight release for, and I saw it in New Zealand. So I was like, apart from premieres and stuff, I was one of the first people in the world to see it, which made me really excited.
Yeah. Of course you liked it.
And
Yeah,
it was
the
just,
atmosphere.
and the same night, a Mando episode came out, which had a preview of the movie
Oh wow.
at the end of it. And so I watched that, and then we had like maybe 2 hours of sleep, and then got up and went off to the movie.
That's a great night.
Yeah,
That's a
it
great.
was
night.
fantastic.
I'd do that.
So that's my number 11.
Cam, go next.
Yeah, it's the same for me. But I think it's on a different level. If I had to rate it out of 10, it would be above. I think where Jake definitely above where Jake put it, and probably above where you would put it. But yeah, it's got nothing to do with that somehow Palpatine return line, which so many people have problems with, which I can understand.
It's not the only thing people have problems with. But
Well,
yes.
no, but that
Yeah.
seems to be the biggest problem. But I read a lot of like lore behind it, and
I mean, if you watch literally anything that's come out since, Mando's been leaning towards cloning. The Bad Batch has been leaning towards cloning. It's all setting up the events of The Rise of Skywalker. So it's not actually, for me, what happens in it necessarily that doesn't make sense. It's the lack of build-up and planning
Prior.
in the writer's room. So like now, lore-wise, they're making it make sense, and that's fine. It made sense anyway. It was a thing that existed in Legends, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
But yeah, it's not.
There was a
content.
canon novel about Sith cloning and how there was a degenerated version of, well, a clone of Palpatine. This is like ages ago, like I think just after Attack of the Clones came out. I think.
then it wasn't canon.
No, it was
Legends. Everything. Well, okay, according to George
it was
Lucas,
a canon novel.
everything that's not the movies and TV shows was technically Legends, but it would now be considered Legends.
I guess, but still, it was something that existed.
Yeah,
and that they drew off. But it's still, I really hate the horses on the freaking side of the Star Destroyer. That's so stupid. You could have just banked to the left and everybody would be dead. Like, come on.
but then they would have had a domino effect where all the Star Destroyers hit. No, I'm kidding.
No, they wouldn't have. Sorry, Ollie.
Well, I don't actually believe
It's stupid. No, I know. But no, that was such a dumb scene. It sounded like from the behind the scenes, it was cool to like film.
Oh, I imagine
it would have been cool.
I imagine the entire film was cool to shoot.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where I notice when like you're making a student film and you're enjoying it to the point, like you're enjoying it so much, where everything is funny, and then you adjust what you're shooting because it makes it funnier for you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
The final product is garbage.
Or is worse than it would have been if you hadn't adjusted.
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I would love to see this sequel trilogy with a plan.
Yeah.
Because that's the real problem with these movies.
Yeah. Fine director.
You know, the movies themselves aren't the greatest, but, you know, it's very much the issue of swapping directors and not having a plan written before making the movies.
Yeah.
So... yeah.
Yours is also.
Oh yes, my 11 is. Could you guess it? Rise of Skywalker. So I saw this twice in theaters. The first time I saw it, I similarly liked it with adrenaline. I wouldn't say I considered it my favorite, but you know I was like, oh man, that was awesome. But with some questions, and then I needed to see it again to truly process, and yeah, it just didn't work for me at all.
There's another. Sorry to interrupt. There's another random thing that I really don't like. There's this whole series, a trilogy of novels that are canon called the Aftermath trilogy, and they follow this random group of like some existing rebels, some original characters who like from post the Battle of Endor up to the Battle of Jakku. So it came out after The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
From like in that point it covers their events, and the main character is this kid called Temmin Wexley, who gets called Snap, and he's in the sequel trilogy. He's played by, give me one moment, he's played by Greg Grunberg. You'd recognize him from the movies as just one of the random rebel characters who's in it. And he dies in the movie, and he has like this massive role lore-wise in the books, and then he like has a couple of appearances in the movies, and then in the final one he just dies, and the only like mention of it we get is Poe like screams "Snap" or something like that.
Yeah,
and I was like, come on. And lots of people who have read the books are just like, nah, it didn't happen.
He's not actually dead. He's on the surface of Exegol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This movie's full of stuff I just don't like, you know, lines like somehow Palpatine returned, and, you know, fan service moments that feel like they were just, you know, taken from the internet and put on screen. Bad CGI. You know.
Which point?
Sorry? The end battle. But one scene I do really like is them Kylo fighting on the
Death Star
with the water. That looks really cool.
It does look really cool.
I don't think I agree with the CGI.
Maybe I'm tripping because I haven't seen it in a while.
Actually,
but I just don't remember it looking too great.
I believe I haven't seen that movie for 5 years. It's like, you know what else I haven't watched since it released?
What?
Endgame.
Which Infinity War was a much better movie.
I had a very similar opinion to Endgame as I had to Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, me too.
I really liked it when I saw it. Saw it twice in one day. Haven't seen it since because I actually think it's bad.
You think Endgame's bad?
I don't think every part of it's bad, but I think narratively, yeah.
Interesting.
I think
didn't know that was an opinion you had.
Following up on Infinity War, it's bad.
Infinity War is much better.
Infinity War is so good, and then Endgame just like
I know what you mean.
we have to end all of these legacy characters'
Yes.
stories.
That was the
and
scene
they
I
just
was
do it in bad
remembering.
ways.
Yeah.
It's the scene when it's the flashback to Luke and Ray. Luke and Leia training.
Yeah, but
And there's a shot of young Leia in the mask.
and it wasn't done very
Well, there was no CGI. It's Billy Lord. It's Carrie Fisher's
But
daughter.
No.
No,
It definitely was CGI.
Oh yeah, true.
they make it
CGI.
look like Leia.
They
Yeah.
try and make it look like Leia, but
They should have just left it as
Yeah.
Billy Lord.
100%. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could go on forever about this movie. It's just I think it's really sucks because it makes me like The Force Awakens, Last Jedi even less because this is where it's leading. But again, that's more of a problem with how it was planned out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
however, I still do like this film.
and it gave us Babu Frick, who's cool.
Everyone loves Bubba.
Yes. But yeah, I don't
Ready
really like
and
this movie.
Look, I don't mind it honestly. I it's not the best again. But I enjoyed it for the final battle. That looks so cool. And just the moment of when Palpatine shoots his Force lightning up into the sky, and then there's a break in the sound, and then you hear it. That moment is so good, and I think it.
I think the shot that that I wish hadn't been in the trailer of all of the Rebel ships showing up, and right in the middle is the Ghost from Rebels. That got me so hyped, and like, obviously that was why it was in the trailer. It got everyone so hyped.
Mm-hmm.
But it did spoil that moment, which would have been really powerful if we didn't already know it was going to happen. Because they're really desperate. They're like, oh, we're about to all die. And then everyone comes in and you're like, okay, well, there's no stakes anymore.
One more thing I hate about this movie, and something I
my
hate
goodness.
just in general, is fake death. They fake out death to Chewie, and it's so lame. Anyway,
They should have committed,
kill him, just kill him.
except if he died, I would
Just kill
have
him.
hated it even more.
well, yes, but if you're gonna do something, commit.
Yeah. And also even 3PO's like fake death. Like they power
So
him down and then he
lame.
comes back and then he gets his restored.
Just no consequences.
Yeah.
No stakes.
Why
Why do I even care?
But yeah, let's move on to our number 10s.
Yes.
So I'll go. I literally just swapped this around. My number 10 is The Last Jedi,
Wow.
but I actually think the gap between my number 11 and my number 10 is quite significant,
Yeah.
and the gaps between the rest of them are a lot smaller. And even
Interesting.
between my number 10 and my number 9, it's like interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't hate The Last Jedi the way everyone did when it came out. Again, this is another scenario of me walking out and being like, this was so good. It was my favorite movie. I definitely have some problems with it. Like,
It's very flawed.
like again, fake out death of Leia. It should have
Such a
been.
stupid
It should
scene.
have been. The Holdo maneuver should have been Admiral Akbar, someone we'd known all this time, but instead he actually died when Leia fake died.
Yeah. Because that scene in concept is amazing,
Yeah,
and the way it's done.
the
is really good.
sacrifice,
Yeah.
fantastic.
The cutting out
The-
the sound.
the-
Each of
Cutting
the
the
sequel
sound.
trilogy have like their one shot, and it absolutely kills, and then the rest of it is like, oh, it's okay.
and then all the stuff on Canto Bight.
I hate that.
I love the concept of this casino planet. It's going to be really cool to play in Star Wars Outlaws when it comes out.
Yeah.
Oh
that's
my
true.
god!
But
That'll be awesome.
but I don't think they did like that storyline very well. Like, yeah. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that could have been really good, and I do really enjoy the movie. But there's also a lot of stuff that's like, what? And Luke's whole arc, which I think is something that they could have fed to us in a way that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason, like, even if I'm fine with it, there's a reason lots of people don't like it.
Oh, 100%.
And I also, like, I don't know if I'm fine with it. I sort of flip-flop between being like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, there is a reason lots of people don't like it. And so they could have done it in a way that would have been okay with more people.
Yeah, I feel like this whole thing could have been avoided if they just sat down and planned it out beforehand.
A whole trilogy.
And did it in a couple of years, not like over the span of a few months. It's even like,
which this is not a hot take.
No, this is not a hot take. This is a very genuine, widely agreed upon idea. So my number 10 is The Phantom Menace.
Interesting.
I still really like it. The opening scene is really cool. How it introduces us to the Jedi as an entity instead of as a mystic being. And the whole building the more lore about how it actually worked throughout the galaxy when they had them, how they were peacekeepers, how they were negotiators, they weren't soldiers. Jar Jar Binks annoys the shit out of me.
Not a hot take.
Not a hot take. I know Armin Best gets a lot of hate for this character, which is not his fault.
Because Star Wars fans suck.
It's dumb.
It's like the same as Jake Lloyd getting hate for young Anakin.
The chick from The Last Jedi who plays Rose.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah. John Boyega.
Hayden Christensen.
It's so dumb. Like
I have some thoughts on this that we can finish up on, but it's just it's okay. I don't mind it. But it's not the best out of the prequels.
Yeah.
Or out of a whole.
We all have different 10s. My 10 is Attack of the Clones. Now I haven't seen Attack of the Clones in a long, long time, so maybe if I rewatch it, I'll feel differently. But it's always been near the bottom for me. I don't really care about this point in the story. The music's great. Some of the acting's good, but some of it's really bad. Jar Jar Binks. It's just not one I'm like, oh, that point in the story really grips me. I really care about it. I really care about the characters at this stage. But yeah, I'd be keen to rewatch it in a binge of the trilogy and see where I land on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is where I said these two are interchangeable. Attack of the Clones is my number 9, but I literally swapped it from my number 10. Mm-hmm. I do think I like it better than The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. I think there are definitely some moments. Anakin and Padme on Naboo. I think that whole sequence I don't enjoy. I think they could have done it in a way that made it better. The dialogue is obviously the big thing that people are like, what? And that's when the acting feels a little bit
It
janky.
definitely felt... That's where the film kind of fell flat for me. But,
But apart from that sequence, I love all of the different set pieces and scenes and sequences in the movie. Like, everything on Geonosis at the end is really cool. The Camino sequences, including the fight with Django, that's cool.
Did Django?
And then just the stuff at the start with the speeder, like the speeder chase is cool. The convoluted assassination plot feels, I mean, I know this is pre the Clone Wars, but it feels straight out of an episode of the Clone Wars. Yeah, I just think it all comes together to make a fun movie that sets up something insane with the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. And so I think whilst I've got it at number 9, like I said, my gaps between these movies are very small, and I love absolutely everything on this list. And I just think that everything else does stuff better than this movie. It's not that I don't like it. It's just everything else does stuff better.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I have it there. Yeah. There's that one scene that I sort of one sequence that I sort of don't love, but the rest of it I think is really fun and cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I need to rewatch it.
Yeah. Though I do worry, well, not worry, but I think you might have a similar opinion than what you had last time.
Yeah.
Though you might appreciate it more, I don't know if your ratings or anything would change.
It may not change, but I might have, at least some slight differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my number 9 is Solo.
Mine too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We might as well talk about it.
We are in agreement.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I still really like this.
It's a solid film.
From 9 to 1, they're all so close together. But yeah, I think this one doesn't manage to edge it out enough.
So I'm just going to jump in. Solo's my number 8.
Okay.
So I know pushing ahead to number 8, but we're talking about it all together.
Yes.
I rewatched Solo. I think the last time I watched it was 2021, but before that was in the lead up to the Rise of Skywalker,
Uh-huh.
and it really like jumped out at me as being, because it's such a different film. I think Rogue One and Solo as these non-Skywalker saga or like non-episodic
They're a Star Wars story.
films. I think they really do something unique, and obviously Rogue One is higher because I haven't talked about it yet.
Yes.
But I still think Solo does something very cool. I think all the acting is great. Alden Ehrenreich is a great young Han, and Donald Glover as young Lando
so good.
is fantastic.
That's my favorite part of the film for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, all the action sequences are really fun.
The Maul cameo is great.
Yeah, Darth Maul being there at the end is cool and sets up a whole bunch of stuff in the comics, which is just epic.
Who played Maul again?
It was Ray Parker who played him in The Phantom Menace, but he was voiced by Sam Witwer, who voiced him
does
in
the Clone Wars. Right.
So cool. Which is just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just think, this one sits here because probably I haven't watched it as much as the other ones. And as epic as it is, everything else, again, does stuff better.
I feel bad for Alden Ehrenreich. He had a really tough task of playing Han Solo. You know, Harrison Ford is probably the only one that should ever play that character, in my opinion. But he's a really good actor. And this movie could have been something special. It's not, but it's not like I don't hate it.
I think another reason people dislike it so much is just because it flopped. Like, not as many people have seen it as the rest of them, and that's because there was a whole bunch of like issues with marketing, and it came out in the middle of a cycle. It's like 2 Star Wars movies came out in 1 year, and it was the first one, and so I think it came out in 2017.
Solo came out in 2018. Yeah.
And then
May 2018.
The Last Jedi came out
December 2017.
December 2017, and then Solo came out 2018, and there was already this like fall off from
Last Jedi
fan reactions to The Last Jedi, and so Solo, which got less marketing, flopped because not as many people wanted to see a Star Wars movie that they didn't know anything about. That was Han Solo without Harrison Ford.
It came out at a bad time for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it released right now, it would be better, or if it released before The Last Jedi. I don't know. When, like, that's a whole other thing that marketing, like, that is for marketing professionals, when to release a movie compared to other projects. But I think that definitely had an impact on people's opinions about it.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you've definitely summed it up.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, but just the circumstances that it came out in were really
like the Kessel Run sequence.
Awesome
sequence.
So
cool.
So great. Yeah. I watched that on YouTube.
12 parsecs. So it's a measurement of distance, not time.
Well, yeah, everyone knew that even from the beginning.
Except apparently not.
Well, yeah.
When it was first said in A New Hope, everyone, it doesn't really change the meaning of it.
No,
it's
it doesn't.
just everyone else interpreted it as, it's a unit of time, not distance. But that's still really cool.
Yeah. So what are your number 8s?
You go first, Cam.
Return of the Jedi.
What?
Yeah. What's your number 7?
You mean my 8?
Yeah. What's your 8?
The Phantom Menace. Yes, I really love a lot of aspects of this film, but kind of really drags in the middle. The ending is awesome. The start is great. It sets up the trilogy very well. But there's a lot I don't care about. But Maul is so awesome in this film, and Qui-Gon's great. And, another one I want to rewatch because I haven't seen it in a while, but I definitely like it more than these 3. The 3 I mentioned previously. But Jake Lloyd is not great, but he shouldn't have gotten hate.
No, he shouldn't have. Yeah. But it was also child actors are really hard because it is a different kind of acting.
Especially,
also,
he's sort of the only child actor in the entire Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Apart
from the other actual children in that movie.
Well, but I mean, like protagonist.
Yeah.
Everyone else is
an adult.
Like any other child characters they're particularly notable in the prequels. They're all side characters who are just there for a little bit, maybe for a laugh or for a scene, but they're not like the driving force of the movie. Whereas he is one of the protagonists. He is young Anakin Skywalker of the Skywalker saga. Like, he had too much resting on him.
Yeah, for sure.
And he got too much pressure from.
It's got one of the greatest posters I've ever seen.
100%.
Anyway,
Just awesome
yeah,
stuff.
with Return of the Jedi, I don't know. I haven't watched it in a long
wild
time.
take.
The ending is awesome. I love the ending, but I think the rest of the movie is just it's all right. It's okay.
Not an Ewok guy.
Not really. I don't like the idea of stormtroopers getting bumped into by a teddy bear and then dying instantly.
It's just awesome.
It's a bit dumb. It's funny though. I like it. But yeah. What's your 7, Ollie?
My number 7 is The Force Awakens.
Same.
No.
I actually love The Force Awakens.
Yes.
It was the first Star Wars movie I saw in cinemas.
Same here.
And I went and saw it like 7 times or something. I absolutely adored it. It's so fun. It sets up this new trilogy, and when it ends, there's so much hope for where everything can go.
It's such an exciting movie.
Finn's unconscious, but you're like, he's not going to die, and you're like, oh
but
my god,
he could be a Jedi.
this is going to be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like,
Goes nowhere.
what follows is a whole different story that
But
we've
yes,
already talked
About
about.
this film.
But let's-
just this on its
Just
own.
this film on its
The
own
only
merits.
like I have a couple of gripes with it. Obviously, it is very similar in like story beats to A New Hope,
But A New Hope is great.
but A New Hope is great.
I don't care.
But
About
like
that.
none of us have mentioned A New Hope yet, so it's
Not
pretty
yet,
high
so
in the
it's-
rankings.
Yeah.
mhm.
The Force, like, it takes those story beats, sure, but it does them in a unique way. Like the reappearance of Han and Chewie in that
Awesome stuff.
moment,
And his
so
death
cool.
is so devastating.
Han's death is such a powerful
But it
moment,
was-
even for the trilogy, even
It wasn't a
considering
cop
lack
out,
of
though.
planning.
It wasn't even a cop out. It was.
Yeah.
It fit. It fit
Yeah,
so well.
It definitely fits story wise, and even considering lack of planning, it still feels like that worked throughout all 3 movies.
Yeah, I believe. I think it did, for sure.
I came out of my first viewing of this going, what's just happened? And looking up on IMDb, Harrison Ford was credited in The Last Jedi, like in episode 8. I don't think it had been named yet, but in episode 8 on IMDb, like at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, he's coming back. It's chill. And then, of course, he didn't come back.
No.
But I remember just like so much hype around it, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, it sits as low as it does because I like everything else better, not because it is bad.
You know something interesting?
What?
So all 3 of the sequels were shot on film, and the escape from Jakku scene was shot on IMAX cameras because
Yeah, that's cool.
of some rubbish that J.J. Abrams said. I don't know, but
Sounds about right.
it looks really cool.
I love. Yeah, this movie was such an exciting in-theater experience for me, and watching it. I remember the night I went to see The Last Jedi. I watched The Force Awakens right before, and I had never been more pumped. And we'll talk about The Last Jedi for me a bit later, and that's why I think I love that film as much as I do.
Fair enough.
But yeah, this film, in hindsight, sucks. Doesn't suck. It just feels a little worse than it is. But yeah, as a film, it's really exciting.
Yeah. I think, my personal opinion, it is the strongest out of that trilogy. Like,
Yeah.
ignoring my rankings,
It
just
had-
like story beats,
It
Yeah,
had
it
the
is the
most
strongest.
thought
yeah.
put into it beforehand.
Race theme. Chef's
Yeah.
kiss.
Definitely.
What's your 7, Cam?
My number 7 is Attack of the Clones. I think, I don't know. I'd like this movie. The final like battle scene with all the clones is so cool. I know they're all CGI, but I really love the clones in live action. It's so cool. And the whole Camino sequence, and then the fight with Jango Fett. And then throughout the Phantom Menace, you're told how powerful the Jedi are, and then this is when you get to see it. This is when you get to see that epic battle with all of the Jedi, but then being cut down by this new separatist machine that they're going to have to fight against.
Learn how to fight
Yeah,
against.
learn how to fight against. And
And then
unknowingly,
the fight with Yoda's fight with Count Dooku,
So
you see why
sick.
he is the Grand Master.
yeah, Christopher Lloyd, what a legend.
Yeah,
Great actor.
fantastic.
But
Great in
then,
Lord of the Rings. Sorry.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
But this is Star Wars.
Yes.
but this is better.
No.
Yeah, I like it. I really do. More than Return of the Jedi, apparently. But
It's a wild take.
it's good. Yeah, the Naboo scenes are crap, and I always skip over them. But don't watch it. It's not part of
It's
the
not a
movie.
part
It's
of
not
the
a part of the movie.
It's just
doesn't
not there.
happen.
So it doesn't count.
Somehow they just get from there to there. There's,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It just
Exactly.
happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Somehow.
Yeah, we
We're on
already talked about
we're all on
it.
6.
We're on 6.
Yeah.
My 6 is Last Jedi.
Same with you.
No.
Oh, okay.
Mine's
What's yours?
Return of the Jedi.
My 6.
Okay.
Okay. My 6 and 5 are technically like tied for number 5.
Okay.
Like I don't have a number 6, but I'll mention them now. It is Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace, and the reason they're tied is, I think, plot wise, Return of the Jedi as the end of that original trilogy and Luke's story and stuff, it really has a lot more going for it.
Yeah.
But I think sequences wise, The Phantom Menace has a lot of really epic sequences, whereas you're on Endor for so long in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That's
maybe a little bit.
That's a
of
like,
point that I
there's-
meant to make.
there's sort of
as well, yeah.
2 things in Return of the Jedi. There's Tatooine
which is
and
so
there's
good.
Endor.
Yeah.
And like they're both great, but they're just really long sequences. And so that brings it down a little bit for me. And The Phantom Menace has all these epic moments, and I absolutely love the pod racing scene, the fight with Maul, Anakin blowing up the Luca Hulk,
Death Star.
the the very start scene with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Like, it's just great. And then Jar Jar, sure, he's annoying, but I don't think he ruins the movie. I think he
hinders
he-
it.
He doesn't
He-
add anything
he-
to it.
he as a character, whatever, but all the stuff with the Gungans, where you see this native species who are being oppressed not just by the Separatists, but by the Nabooian humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's compelling.
Mm.
And so even though there are some slow moments in it, the whole point is you're seeing the Jedi. This is the only movie, apart from sort of the start of Attack of the Clones, where you see the Jedi be peacekeepers, not soldiers, which is, as they say many times,
That's where they're meant. That's what
they're
they're meant
the
to
whole
be.
point of them.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I think it does that really well. So I think I can't really rank either of them higher than the other,
Fair.
Mhm.
because they do very similar things. They each have really good moments and moments that drag them down a little bit.
Yeah.
My 6 through 1, I love all these movies. My 6 is Return of the Jedi. I really do love this movie. It is a little flawed. You are right that it's like 2 sequences, but I love both those sequences so
Yeah.
much. Especially Tatooine. That's some of my favorite Star Wars stuff in
100%.
general. Especially
And
all the opening.
This is the
stuff.
first appearance of a green lightsaber
Yeah.
release order.
Yeah.
And compared to the previous 2 movies, it looks so good. The
They all look good,
well,
in my opinion.
I
Well,
think
you've been watching the remastered versions, right? They've been remastered like 5 times. The
ones that I watched are the
by
original Blu-rays. Whenever the Blu-rays came out, the original Blu-ray box set.
There
I've
is
got
there
those.
is a substantial difference between
Yeah.
A New Hope
Yeah.
The technology
and
has gotten better for
Yeah.
sure.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I think because it just compared to A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, the green lightsaber outside in broad sunlight,
Yeah.
still it looks so much better
It
than
looks amazing.
even the red and blue did.
You're
in
right.
The darkness.
You're
But
right. I saw all 3 of the original ones on 35 millimeter last time I watched them, so they all looked good to me. But you are right. So we're on to 5 now.
Where was that?
In Ritz in Sydney.
In the Ritz.
Yeah, we're on to 5. So like I
So-
said, this is for me
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace and Return of the Jedi tied.
Okay.
What's your 5?
A New Hope.
What's your 5?
The Last Jedi.
This is its highest ranking.
It's similar.
Do you want to talk about A New Hope?
No, actually, no, I don't.
Do you want to wait till me and Ollie bring it up?
Sure, whatever. Yep. Let's
Okay.
do that.
So for me, 5 is The Last Jedi. One of my favorite in theater experiences was seeing this opening night.
100%. I think
It's so exciting.
it is so. It really builds.
Sorry.
It really
No, you're
builds
right.
up
Yeah.
momentum, and its moments in cinemas play better than on like a rewatch.
The throne
I
room
think.
scene. That's all I have to say.
100%.
That's all I
So
have to say.
so yeah, like
Yeah.
I do think you can sort of place this one anywhere. especially depending on like people's personal opinions on like whether the plot makes sense for like the character arcs and stuff. But I do think it has so much going for it.
I love Rian Johnson, and I think the divisive reactions to his films, especially like the negative ones, makes me want to defend it even more, because it's like, okay, guys,
I don't think it's
doing?
Rian Johnson's fault.
No, not at all.
I think
he made it one of the best looking Star Wars movies.
Again, planning. I think like people could have agreed with Luke. Like the biggest thing that people dislike about Rian Johnson's writing is that he decided that Luke has to be like this grumpy failure.
Yes.
But like Luke could have been a grumpy failure if they'd built up to it more.
Yeah. I think it makes sense for the character, and it pays off really well. I think the ending is so satisfying.
The only part that I really don't like is when he tosses the lightsaber at the beginning.
It makes sense to me, man.
I was so shocked.
It makes sense.
But
like it's frustrating, but it's meant to be.
I laughed.
Yeah.
But it was shocking. But it does make sense within the plot of the movie.
I get why people are upset by it though. And yeah, the Canto Bight stuff absolutely sucks, and I would skip it every time I watch it.
The setting's very cool.
But yeah, it's not done well.
But yeah.
I want to put my fist through this whole lousy establishment, and then literally goes through puts her fist through it.
Yeah. I love this movie though.
Disgusting.
And it's my favorite of the sequel trilogy, even though The Force Awakens is probably a stronger movie. Yeah. I just think Last Jedi gets me. I don't know.
That's fair.
We're on to 4.
That's fair.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, Empire. Yeah.
I knew you were going to react that way. Mine's also Empire.
What?
Yeah.
Mine's that one.
I think it's my favorite out of the original trilogy. It's they found every like lore thing that didn't work in A New Hope, and then fixed it. And then the new technologies, new vehicles, and the new elements to the Force that they add.
The appearance of Yoda.
It's one of the greatest films ever made. That's all I have to say.
Fair enough.
Yoda, you seek Yoda. I just think I love Empire. I absolutely love Empire now.
Yeah.
But I think I remember being on a car trip doing a personal rewatch of Star Wars. I was probably early teens.
Mm-hmm.
And I had definitely seen Empire before this, but I don't think I had any recollection. Like I knew the beats. I knew there was Hoth, and then there was Bespin, but I didn't remember like how it went. And so because I don't have as much nostalgia factor for it, I still think it is a fantastic movie, one of the best sequels of all time.
Yep.
Probably possibly better than the 3 I have above it in some ways. But I just think personally, in terms of enjoyment factor, it doesn't have as much nostalgia for me.
Okay.
Like, I still love it. I think all of the moments in it are super strong. I honestly could very easily put it higher. And right now I'm considering swapping it with my number 3.
I remember watching this for the first time, and it was like I was sitting in the lounge room with my family. And it was the final scene where Boba Fett was loading Han Solo and Carbonite into Slave One. And I remember then wanting to be Boba Fett. And after the movie, I went and got a bunch of like toilet rolls and made like his gun.
That's awesome.
And everything. It was
so
sick. Yeah, I really like this movie. The nostalgia for me there's so much of it, but is not as much as the other films, because I think if I had seen this when it came out in cinemas, it would have been my favorite.
Yeah.
But there's still a little bit of here and there, some dull moments that don't really do it for me, that kind of take me out of the
sort of
film.
like Return of the Jedi. This one has 3 sequences. It's got Hoth, Dagobah / the asteroid, like the long journey,
and then
Bespin.
Yeah.
And I think...
But that makes sense, though. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
It does. It definitely does. And a lot of movies try to cram too much in. I just think this one definitely has some really slow moments that it needs and work. But just like the other movies are really intense all the time, and so you notice the difference.
Yeah.
I don't think this is bad. I absolutely adore Empire, but I think my first watch of it where I actually took anything in from it, I already knew
Everything.
Vader was Luke's father. I already knew
Wait,
all
what?
of these.
Sorry.
He watched Pitch Perfect.
I already I already knew all these intense moments, and so it didn't hit as hard as an emotional follow up. But on it, I haven't watched it for a while. I think watching it again. Actually, I have watched it recently.
You lie.
I watched it last year.
Yeah.
But I adore it. I love all of the stuff around it. I watched it and then read and watched chronologically every other piece of media, books, comics, TV, shorts, literally anything that comes between Empire and Return. And it sets up something absolutely incredible. And so I think it's fantastic and could very easily be number 3, number 2, number 1. But all my other ones I love as well. So
I'll share my thoughts on it a bit later. My 4 was Rogue One.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Then. Okay. So my number 3 is The Force Awakens. This was the first one that I saw in cinemas.
That's crazy.
Actually no, that's a lie. Yeah, this is the first time I saw it in cinemas. This was a midnight screening at Dendy. So not unlike Oliver. We were 2 hours behind, but still one of the
no
first
reactions had come out yet.
No. And one of
exciting.
the first people in the country one of the first screenings in the country. It was the midnight screening, and I've never been to something like that before. It was amazing. The amount of people there, people were in costume. So many people were so passionate about this. And after when did Revenge of the Sith came out?
2005.
Yeah, so it's about 10 years. More than 10 years of no Star Wars, and then suddenly this brand new film. Everyone was so hyped for it, and I remember being so hyped because I just watched the prequels, and this was something that I was really looking forward to, and I was not let down at all. I love it.
Yeah.
What was your number 3?
Mine's A New Hope. Iconic movie, important movie.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the definition of a perfect movie.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Revenge of the Sith. This is where earlier I was like, haha, same number as ranking.
All right.
I think Revenge of the Sith has a lot of flaws. There are a lot of narrative flaws.
This is true.
Cut scenes that shouldn't have been cut. Just a bunch of things that are imperfections about it, but they only make me love it more. They stop me from putting it at the top, but I do absolutely adore this movie. I think the action in it is incredible. It's some of Obi-Wan's best moments, and he is pretty much my favorite character. Well, definitely one of my favorite characters.
Definitely my favorite.
Order 66 is devastating, and every time I watch it, I'm like, maybe it's going to go differently this time. And I don't know why I have that feeling, because I know it's not. But yeah,
I'm with you there.
I just adore it, but I can't put it higher because of those flaws. But number 3, absolutely podium finish. It's such a good movie.
Yeah. Where are we at? 2 for everybody now?
Yeah, well, I'll continue on from that. For number 2 for me is Revenge of the Sith.
Me too.
Yeah.
Amazing movie.
I'm actually, I think it's because I'm more hyped because I'm going to go and watch it next week in 4K.
Me too.
At Dindy. It's going to be so cool because May the 5th.
I've never seen it in theaters, and I'm so hyped.
Yeah, I think this is going to be amazing. I'm with you there on the Order 66 could have gone differently. And every single time I watch it, I'm like, no, just tell him you love him like a son, and then he won't go like batshit insane. You can definitely bleep that out. But every single time though. And you can see where it went wrong and the failures of the Jedi. And this has become more of the politics of Star Wars, which will lead into my number 1. But the politics of Star Wars is so good. And this is why I think Andor was so divisive, because a lot of people think about Star Wars as lightsaber fights and battles.
Space opera.
And, yeah, it's
Which
a space
it does
opera.
incredibly well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Andor is more of a political drama.
Yeah.
I mean, the politics of a galaxy with thousands of systems and worlds, it's just so
It's so interesting.
100%,
Like,
100%.
how could you not enjoy that conceptually?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as a universe goes that someone has just thought of,
Yeah.
it's so
stunning.
good.
It's fantastic.
It's so
Revenge
good.
of the Sith is Revenge of the Sith.
Bless you.
It's flawed. I agree. It's probably got one of the most exciting finishes in cinematic history. Obi-Wan versus Anakin mashed with Yoda versus Palpatine. I mean, you can't get any better than that. You really can't. And I love this movie so much.
And then the funniest scene in the whole
the memes,
the whole like universe of Star Wars, funniest scene ever. You know.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Anakin killing
No,
younglings?
we're not going to talk about it. It's
Um,
just so funny. But this
It's just so good.
It's so
It's
good.
so good. I love this.
I
movie so
can't.
much.
I don't know about you, but yeah, I can't express how much how
Yeah.
good this
I
film
adore Revenge of the Sith. There's just
is. Yeah.
it's just so cool.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about my number 2. Now, this is really hard. My number 2 and my number 1. My number 2 is A New Hope,
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
I'll
but
give it
I
that one.
do think it could be my number 1. It's my number 1 on Letterboxd. I just think it started everything.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
no complaints about the plot, no complaints about the acting, no complaints about the VFX. Like, it was a
This was
groundbreaking,
groundbreaking. Yeah.
film.
I can't believe it didn't win Best Picture.
I just
It's crazy stuff.
absolutely adore it. It's
Yeah.
probably the one I will come back to the most,
Yeah.
because I think it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it
Mhm.
sets up this incredible universe. I mean, they talk about the Clone Wars in A New Hope.
was
It's
it was
unbelievable stuff.
in
such
1977.
such a random throwaway phrase that it inspired the prequels.
It
and
inspired.
then a whole
There's also a
TV
whole
series.
bunch of like legends
Yeah.
stuff.
One of the best TV
What I
series
would give to be a Star Wars fan between 1977 and 1980, like
You're
all
having the best. time
all
of
of
your
the
life.
stuff that was created, fan fiction, novels, games, comics, it was so unique and
Mhm.
interesting, and people coming up with their own takes on what the sequel would be. It was so cool.
And then you get
Yeah.
to see Empire on opening night.
And then seeing
and
Empire.
Have your mind blown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think A New Hope, fantastic. And then
You
obviously,
definitely just spoiled it.
yeah, but it's the only one I haven't said, isn't it?
I'll talk about my number 1 first, I guess, because you two have the same
Yeah.
number
We'll
1.
we'll talk about this one in a second.
And
yeah.
I want to talk about Rogue One with you guys.
Yep.
Wait, spoilers. My number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. When I think of
No.
Star Wars, I think of this movie. I think of Luke, I am your father. All the stuff on Hoth is some of the coolest stuff ever. Yoda, iconic. Movie is just one of my favorite movies ever, and I just love everything about
Yeah.
it.
Just for me, when I think of Star Wars, I think of A New Hope. So
that's
why
also
I like
yeah, that's also one of the first ones I think of
Yeah.
too. It's definitely those two back to back,
Yeah.
but yeah, Empire just has the payoff from A New Hope for me, which I like more, and I like the dramatic ending more than the New Hope ending, which is good.
That's
but
fair.
The endings.
I
are
mean,
both
A New
amazing.
Hope actually didn't, like, a lot of movies are a first movie and it ends in a way that, like, it doesn't need a sequel. It
Mhm.
could be satisfying on its own, but it sets up for a sequel. A New Hope didn't do that.
No.
Like, there are bits, like, obviously, Vader gets knocked away instead of being blown up. But
Mhm.
there are a whole bunch of things that, like, it really resolves almost every part of itself, and it could have just been a standalone movie, sci-fi movie that everyone loved, but
Mhm.
then there's a sequel that everyone loves more.
Yeah.
But our number ones, your number 3, was it?
4.
Your number 4.
But I love this movie so much.
Rogue One.
Rogue
I think
One.
it takes so much of what everyone loves about Star Wars, the best elements of the political nature, some awesome fight scenes, fantastic cinematography,
Greg
um,
Fraser, what a god.
Who?
Who?
amazing score. Not
Yeah.
even John Williams. It
Michael
was
G.
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
Amazing score though, and really, really compelling characters.
100% gave us Andor, which is one of the best things ever.
And just put it together in a movie that is set literally the day before A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. I'll never forget seeing it in theaters, seeing that Vader scene.
And
That Vader scene.
Everyone
oh my God.
dies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was just mind blowing.
It has
The
stakes.
best ending of any Star Wars film. It was so
Except for
Totally
Shush.
disagree.
Shush.
But it's really
Shush.
good.
No, yes, like you always think, okay, the good guys are gonna win and they're gonna run away, but no, it's a tragedy. It's a Shakespearean tragedy.
and yet it sets up A New Hope, and you know where it goes. You know that
Actually.
A New Hope ends positively,
Mhm.
and then what comes after.
Mhm.
And so it's just,
It
I mean,
cut-
all of Star Wars is a tragedy.
yeah.
I'd say that Revenge of the Sith is more Shakespearean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but-
the most Shakespearean it gets. But this is
Definitely.
very close to it.
Yeah.
It covers one of the biggest plot holes in cinematic, not a plot hole, but like it covers a gap that's important.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, that Vader scene is probably my favorite Star Wars scene ever.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And now there have been several hallway scenes
Yeah.
since, which are also really epic. And
Yeah.
every time it happens, you're like, I'm
Oh,
in for
they're
a
Rogue
treat
One.
right now.
Yeah.
The absolute terror and fear that they were able to capture is just
The chills I got in my
How?
body when he lit up that lightsaber for the first time.
It's still one of the best shots
Oh,
in Star Wars.
Yes. It's a really, really amazing movie. I just prefer the other ones. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
the
have
only
anything wrong
reason
with it.
I've put it above A New Hope is, as much as I adore A New Hope, I think this one has learnt, or like it's had the benefit of having, well, this came out 2016,
yeah.
39 years of experience,
Yeah.
and then wrote a story to set up one of the best Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
It's like, if they'd screwed that up, there would have been some serious issues, but they really nailed it.
It's crazy how good of a place Star Wars was at after 2016, with Force Awakens setting up such an exciting trilogy, and then Rogue One being so good, so loved.
And then Rebels came out then, and I know
Yeah.
the first season wasn't as like strong, and people were like, "Oh, this is a baby kids show," but it turned into this season 3 and 4 where it's really strong.
Mm.
That came out in 2016
And
too.
Battlefront was coming out.
Battlefront came out
The
2015.
Last
And then
Jedi came out, and it just flipped.
Yeah.
It flipped so quickly with Last Jedi
Yeah.
Solo.
But
and
then the same sort of thing happened 2018, 2019.
Mando.
Solo, End of Rebels, Mando, Fallen Order, Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker,
Yeah.
and then it flipped again.
Yeah, so it's at a weird place right now, I think, because
There's-
there's no movies being made.
Well, they're being made, but not like
but
releasing
yeah,
this year.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
even in.
Not until
There's no
2026.
release dates, really.
Yeah,
Is
there
this-
are release
oh,
dates,
yeah, yes.
but the
They're
first
far
one's
away.
not coming until 2026.
There's no specific. This is the year.
No, there are specific days and
Oh.
months.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
But-
okay. Never
but I
mind.
don't
They're
know
just
them
far,
off the top
they're
of my
just
head.
far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Don't
I
tell
think-
me, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to look forward to anything else.
But I think that wraps up our rankings.
Those are good rankings.
I'm
not
pretty
too many
happy.
issues
I'm
I
pretty
have.
happy with those rankings.
yeah. There's a few nitpicks here and there for me, but
Well, I think
it's just
specific-
it's just
mine-
down to opinion.
yeah.
I felt pressured. Like we jumped. I stand by my rankings, but I also
Yeah.
know that 100% they could change.
Oh yeah, it's
uh,
definitely interchangeable.
in any moment. So
My 2 through 6, my 2 through 5 could change a lot.
Mm.
I think Empire will always be my number one. But yeah,
yeah.
it's.
I
great.
think Empire could definitely be my number one, even though it's all the way down at number 4 or whatever. A New Hope could be my number one. Yeah, like they could all jump around.
Yeah.
Star Wars, for good reason, is and will always be my favorite franchise.
Sick. And now we can't talk about it ever again.
if I had to put Andor in here, it'd probably slot in top 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
But
I
that's
think,
harder
I think
because it's a
all
TV
Star
show.
Wars media
Yeah.
rankings would change so much.
Yeah, that would be
For
so
me.
weird
'Cause
it's too hard.
And that
Right,
would
right.
be a 2-hour episode.
yeah, that too.
One
Of
day,
just
one
talking
Day,
about
one
that.
day, the three of us will talk about it, but probably not
Yeah,
on.
Not on this show.
This
yeah.
show.
On our Star Wars,
Unfortunately.
on the Patreon.
Well,
There is no Patreon.
with-
There is no Patreon.
with that being
Please
said,
don't look for it.
With that
Look
being
for it.
said, is there any? That's sort of the end of our Star Wars rankings.
Yeah.
Is there any Film Society stuff?
Hell yeah. Well, we've already talked about it, but yeah, there's
Just
a
another
screening.
reminder
We got the screening,
About the screening.
6 p.m.
2B9.
To be 9.
May
I know
16th.
May 16th.
a lot of the-
just say the
The
day.
Yeah, got you.
16th of May. I know there's a lot of second years that are finishing up their films and they're due on Monday as of recording.
Mhm.
Next Monday, next week. So definitely get those in there.
Yes.
I messed up the email on all of the posters. I'm sorry. I'm gonna run around the uni and white them out and rewrite what
the
they
email
should say.
is ucfilmsociety2020@gmail.com.
Yes. that
On
one.
the posters it says US.
Not US. That does not exist. Do not email that email address. Thank you.
But that's all there is to talk about. So thanks for joining us for this week of Off Camera. We'll see you next week.
That's a wrap.
See ya.